So good afternoon. Maybe I have to sit. I can stand. Do you hear me? Because I prefer standing, if that's all right. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to see that you're so many that have continued staying on until this late hour. I'm Karin Lexén. I'm the director of the Stockholm World Water Week and Prizes. And that means that I'm heading the department that is organizing the World Water Week, the free Stockholm Water Prizes, and also the CV engagement in overarching international processes like the post-2015 agenda processes and so forth. The idea I have for this session is to present to you where we are right now with a theme and with our thinking, and to get your feedback and ideas, both to what I'm saying here now, but also perhaps if you have some reflections on earlier weeks. And I can say this as I stepped into force as a director after the last week, so you can easily give me all your points. No, I'm just kidding. I've been part of CV since 2007, so I've been deeply involved in the week even before I began as the director. I know that most of you are aware of that actually the deadline for submitting suggestions for seminars and side events and also for abstracts for the workshop was yesterday. So it's a little bit funny for me standing here now, but I can comfort you with the fact that we have extended this deadline until next Monday. Also, this is a very good time because when we are looking into these suggestions on side events and seminars and on the abstracts, it's also very good to have your reflections, because what has happened so far and that we think will be happening this year as well is that we will probably get more suggestions than what we have slots for, meaning that we will have to enter into a selection process, meaning that we will have to think of, will we sort of allow this one to be presented? Can we merge? And then it is also very good to have had your feedback and comments in this process. I will give a brief update, and then I hope we will have some time also for some comments and for some suggestions. But just to bring us all on the same page, this is the, you might recognize this picture. I also have some of these leaflets up here. I mean, they are in a way soon out of date, but still there are texts and there are good information in that one. So please take one if you don't have and look into that one. But just to give you some figures from last week with the theme food and water and food security, we had more than 2,500 participants. We organized 8 workshops and 61 seminars and 43 side events. We have participation from all over the world. And if we look into the distribution, we have about 25% of the people come from scientific background, 23% come from governmental or agency background. The private sector consists of around, you understand this is built on some statistics that is around, 14%, and media around 6%. We had 120 journalists from the whole world, including CNN, Reuters, Al Jazeera, and these kind of quite big channels and reporting, broadcasting channels. There were 2,300 articles written about World Water Week last year. So we think that it's a major outreach possibility for all of us, actually. The theme of cooperation is, of course, at the heart of the very thinking of the World Water Week. since the aim of the week is to provide a platform for facilitating cooperation and implementation across sectors and disciplines. And that is why we provide space for you to come and suggest seminars and side events. So we don't organize them ourselves, and it's really, from the very beginning, a deep thought on that we want you to come there and have your show. Of course, we have to make a selection, but this is really fundamental to our thinking. We want to really emphasize the need to have new thinking and to have creative ideas. And this is a constant challenge. I was talking to Josefina before, saying that this is the 23rd, we didn't say that, but it's the 23rd World War Week. And as I'm stepping into force of being the director, I can really be amazed of the force that have been behind developing it to the stage where it is now. And I give a lot of credits to the executive director that stepped down, Anders Bentel, who did a lot of thinking around this, and also earlier directors before that. But we have to continue thinking, how can we be relevant to the present context? How can we continue improve ourselves in different areas? And we need your help for doing that, because this is our joint effort. It isn't a CV effort, it's a joint effort of all of us. One challenge to all of us is, of course, we're saying that we want to climb out or reach out of the water box. How do we really do that? I know that some of you have commented on the early deadline for submissions. And the reason for that is that we want to have the preliminary program ready earlier than previous years in order to be able to advertise this earlier. So this is the reason we try to get it out earlier, in order to try to get people that don't already have World War Week on their radar. So that's the reason. Another concern we have had is that we really want to bring in the perspective of the younger generation. You know, we often say that it's important to have a younger perspective. And very often it tends to be a panel somewhere or a seminar somewhere. But we really want to integrate the different generations and to blend experiences and fresh ideas. And we started with the Stockholm Junior Water Prize. We have junior rapporteurs. We have had, over the last year, the Young Scientific Program Committee. We had a Young Vision. And this year, we are stepping up to a YOF Day, where a YOF young Day, where we are going to invite YOF people in panels and so forth. And this is a way of trying to blend new people and all experience. And another way of trying to increase and advance cooperation is that it wasn't me, but it was the people that worked before me, but I think it's a great idea. We have initiated to work closely for each year and each theme with 3 collaborative partners, in addition to that UN organization that is responsible for the theme of the year or the theme of the day. So next year, of course, we're working closely with UNESCO, but we're also working closely with the Global Water Partnership, the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, and WWF. And by presenting those 3 organizations in addition to UNESCO, you will find that we're also trying to capture different perspectives, different kinds of stakeholders in what we are doing. And another thing that we continue to do is to try to contribute walking our talk. We got a lot of comments from especially the youth people on how we can improve the World War II to become greener. And actually, the president of the World Business Council, Peter Backer, also pushed very hard for us to become even more green. And I will see, you will see. You will have to test me next time if we succeeded in doing that. Of course, cooperation is also the theme for World War Week. And we always have something we call the thematic scope. You will find it on the website. You will also find it in the leaflet. And I mean, it has been a very interesting day today, and great thanks to Josefina. It's going to be a day tomorrow and the day after too, but it has been a good beginning, and to you and all the other people that put it all together. We will continue building on that, of course, and I forgot to say that we really see the World Water Week as part of the International Year of Cooperation, and we see it, we want to contribute to that, so we want to be seen as part of that. And when we look at cooperation, you can look at it in many different ways. And one problem, one challenge that we will have this year is how do you translate this wide scope of cooperation into something stringent, something that can attract media, something that is easy to catch? And this is something we have been struggling with a bit. These fields of cooperation are the ones you will find in the thematic scope, and they will also be guiding us a bit when we are looking to different proposals and suggestions that are coming in. Of course, I've already said that for us, it's really important to find ways of working between sectors and also to work as water competence within and integrated into different sectors. I used to be one of those people that don't like talking about the water sector at all, because I think it's misleading sometimes. There is a water sector, of course, but water is much more. Water is a resource. It's also a hazard. So we need, in order to communicate to people outside of the water box, I think it's important to say that water is not just a sector, it's a broader scope. And therefore, we need to find ways of addressing water together with people coming from other sectors. The other issue about between stakeholder groups is, of course, finding ways of meeting across different disciplines. And we're trying to do that already, and I'll come back to that in the end with the World Water Week. As you see, we are inviting different kinds of stakeholders. But still, there is a challenge. How can we be even better in creating meeting places between private companies, NGOs, scientists, and governments? How can we improve that? How can we take that one step further? And we'd like to see suggestions. Another issue that we would like to capture is that there's too often a case where we talk about oceans and seas in one compartment, and then we talk about water resources in another, and we don't connect. And this is something we also would like to provide a space for finding ways of really connecting between the hilltop and the ocean. And then also we have what we might call the more traditional way of thinking of cooperation, the transboundary issue, and how to also work between different levels, from the local level up to the global level. How do we sort of translate, communicate, work in between those different levels? And finally, the cooperation to bridge this, what we call the science policy gap. And if I may, I can just take one example from my own background. I've been working quite a lot with climate change issues. And I would say it's not the lacking of science that prevents us from reaching good results in the climate field. So what is this that is needed? And how can scientists better communicate their knowledge and translate it into something that makes sense to policymakers? And how can we get this to work better, and how can that lead to policy being implemented on the ground? So this is the last area that we like to cover and where we would be very happy to get suggestions for. I talked about workshops, and I think most of you know what we mean with those workshops, but again, to get us all on the same page, when the World Water Week started, it started as a symposium for 2 days with a scientific base, with workshops, and that is still the backbone of the World Water Week. We still have a scientific program committee that meets every month, and that puts together 8 scientific workshops based on abstracts, And this is very important, but also here, and you can see the themes for those workshops here. These are the workshops where we are asking for abstracts. But in order to develop also this thinking, we are trying to really continue on the efforts to link, as I said before, and bridge science to policy. And we're trying to put quite a strong emphasis on these linkages in this year's efforts. Also, we usually have 3 co-conveners for each workshop. And we're trying to get, and these are then co-conveners that CV is inviting on the recommendation from our scientific committee program and our chair. In this year, we're trying to at the least have 1 co-convener that is not a water organization for each workshop. So this is also a way of trying to find ways to broadening the scope. I'll be very brief. So this is the last slide I have. Some dates, just for your reminders. As you see, January 7th was yesterday, but we will accept suggestions until Monday. And then we have quite a big, extensive job in reading all the abstracts together with the scientific program committee, and also reading all the suggestions, trying to lay out a program, trying to find a way of merge issues, etc. And we hope that this year we will have a preliminary program in April, late April, to send out. And I think if we get that, it's an asset in order to try to get people to book in their calendars that didn't already know about a week, so that they know more why they should book this. Not only there's a World War Week, but what does that say? If we have a program, it's easier to convince people to come, I hope. To kick off some of your, I'm sure you have a lot of questions if you're not too tired. I've touched upon many of those challenges already. But these are the issues that I'm struggling with. I'm sure it's not only for the World War Week, but these are some of the questions that I would like to struggle with and try to improve the week with. And that is, how do we further strengthen cooperation across generations and different disciplines? And I've already talked about that. We also need to improve the gender balance and to bring in the gender perspectives better. The third point is a tricky one. How do we avoid repetitions? You know, we always want to start from where we were. Can you, yeah, it's more for the translation. Yeah, yeah. So how can we have discussions that are really focusing on results and strategies for implementation? And as I said before, we're really trying to find ways for being relevant for other processes. So one example is that CEV is already working, engaging in the so-called post-2015 agenda process, and the week would definitely link up with that process as well. And we have some ideas in how we want to do that, so that we are relevant not only for this week, but we are in a continuous cooperation throughout the year. And again, reaching out our water box. And I couldn't help, and this is very sentimental, just to give you an example of my motivation. This is my daughter. She turns 18 on Sunday. And when you're thinking of, why am I doing this? Why are we doing this? And she's continuously challenging me, too, in her questions and her remarks and her comments. So when I'm thinking of why I'm doing this, I'm thinking of her and her future. When she's my age, there is only 8 years to 2050. So there's a reason for why we are doing this. So I'm really curious on all your questions and remarks, and it's quite a big group, but I think we stick together at this late hour. Yeah, you're quick.
Yes, it works. Thank you very much for the presentation. Not so much as a question, but just some comments. You started saying in the beginning that you were looking for change, what should be different, and I think the starting point should be what has changed this year, and you can build upon it. Basically, there are two things that I heard today which indicate a clear change in the field of water. First of all, climate change. I'm surprised how often... Can people hear me? It's sometimes working and sometimes not. Climate change. I'm surprised how often climate change was mentioned today. That it really affects already what we're doing. Changing... the situation on the ground is changing more rapidly than it was ever before. 2012 has been seen by many people as the year that everybody who was only reading newspapers noticed that climate change actually taking place. So what would that mean for the Water Week? It's something to think about. You are dealing with more rapidly changing situations on the ground than we had before, and that must somehow change the way that we are working. And maybe you need something like, just thinking on top of my head, like an early warning mechanism. If there's problems arising that we're not aware of for the simple reason that they weren't there a few years ago, where can these countries go to? And how, if we react quickly, we can maybe avoid getting bigger disasters. It's a different ballgame than, let's say, 10 years ago, or 5 years ago. So that's one thing. The other thing that changed this year is the two treaties we're dealing with two treaties that are now both soon will both be having entered into force, and both will be having a worldwide coverage. We had a very good presentation on that issue. How are we going to deal with it? How will that affect the work of anything in the field of water diplomacy? Yes, the ideal is that you work with both conventions. What do you do if there's one country is party to the one convention, the other is member to the other convention, or all kinds of varieties you can think of, and there is a real conflict? It's not something you can just easily talk about and it's solved. How are you going to do it with meetings of states parties? Do you organize them back to back? Who's responsible for organizing and preparing it? So that's another change that took place this year and will affect us in the years to come. On communication and how to improve all that. And another question, how to involve companies better. Maybe there is, but that also needs some thinking. I'm also involved with the EITI, the Extraction Industries Transparency Initiative, where you have something that really works and is fully voluntary, where companies and NGOs and governments sat around the table together and said, well, this is the way we are going to work. A rather flexible system, but something where you come together and you can measure results. Some kind of voluntary cooperation mechanism, not just for governments like the treaties, but something bigger and broader. Well, needs some brainstorming, but maybe in that direction there's some room. Yeah, on press and publicity, normally what works best is either a good movie or bring out reports with sketchy news, and there's enough to draw on, and prepare the press well. Give them time to prepare so they know that this is coming. Yeah. Very last thought, is there something, but maybe it's already there, something like a parliamentarian group of parliamentarians from all countries that are involved in the field of water that cooperate. Like you have parliamentarians present at UN meetings or OSCE meetings or other things. We're new in this field. I don't know if it's already. The microphone is shut up.
There's a time spell on it. So. No, thanks a lot for many useful comments. I think in order to let other people also speak, I hold back from responding right now. But on the last, I just wanted to say that, for instance, we have MCAW, the African Ministers' Council on Water, that are very active in the World Water Week and have many of the ministers present, for example. So that's one example. Yeah. That's government, you're right, that's not parliamentary. No, and we have also invited parliamentary, yeah, you're right, that's government, not parliament, yeah. But we have also invited parliamentarians to the week. But there's not a particular group as I know of. Not yet, no. I don't know who was first, I was... We're taking that corner and then just, you know.
A comment and a question. The first comment is that the challenge you have mentioned, they should be valid not only for SIWI, but for everybody that is organizing water meetings. I think those are very important. And the question is, what about the participation of people from the developing world? Is really important, not only in absolute terms, but also in terms of the percentage of people attending from, not only attending, presenting, because sometimes I feel very bad that I hear people from one country presenting the case of the others. Yes. Shouldn't be allowed the people of their own countries to present and discuss their own problems?
Just a short remark. It was very good that you brought that up because I actually forgot to put that. I had it on my paper, but you reminded me. We do have, this is very important to us, to try to not speak on behalf of people, but having them speaking for themselves. So we have small funds for helping, assisting. And we're also trying to use some of the money that we get from participants that can pay for supporting participations from developing countries. So if you think the fee is too high, think of that. We're trying to covering the fees of others in that way. So thank you. Yes,
Can I go? You said you want to avoid repetitions. But of course, politics is about repeating the same thing all the time. So you must not be afraid of repeating things because that's how it gets into the head of people. But I would suggest some other items. I was to a presentation of the International Energy Organization, and they said, for instance, Iraq could be providing the whole of the oil needed for the increase of the economies of Asia in the next 20 years, if it finds water. In this summer, there was fight between the farmers and the people who were going for the shale, for the gas shale in the United States. The farmers did not want to leave the water to the people going for the oil shale. No. So I think it's very important that people know about the hidden water, the hidden cost of water. What will be the amount of water which will be needed to provide energy in the next 20 years, fossil fuels? A huge amount of water. So if the Stockholm Week could sort of tell the politicians and the people how much water will be needed, and the conflict will happen between absolutely vital uses of water for people and the amount of water which will be needed for fossil fuel, this would be perhaps helpful to help people to address this subject as a suggestion.
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to address your question as well as one of the others that you posed earlier, and then Josefina. Well, on the next theme for 2014 will actually be energy, and last theme was food. So what we will try to do is trying to link between food in 2012, cooperation in 2013 and energy in 2014, and try to see the linkages. And on climate change, you're talking to the already converted, because that is what I've been doing before I entered here. So it's almost like my pet, and I have to be a little bit careful. But there are some very interesting developments in this. Things like decision support tools that is trying to not following changes very rapidly and not go with already strategies for several years, but trying to be adjustable, for instance. We're also addressing the energy issue. One of the workshops will address coherence between adaptation and mitigation. This is precisely around how do we avoid one hand doing something that the other hand doesn't know, and breaking resilience in trying to mitigate greenhouse gases. So this is one of the areas that we want to cover. Yes, please. And
I think, just to clarify, I think these microphones go off because of the webcast. They have interferences, okay? I have three issues. One is in relation to the design of the World Water Week. Second, about the themes that you were talking about, the substance, and also about communication. In relation to the design, Karen, I don't want to be critical, but I think for me as a user of the World Water Week, I find that there is too many things happening at the same time. And you would like to be in different places at the same time, it's impossible. And I think probably that's something that you cannot avoid, because you cannot pack so many things in 1 week. But what I think maybe I'm missing is a way of wrapping it all together. Although you have tried with the plenaries, to open it and to close it. I don't know, I don't really see the wealth of things that are happening in the World Water Week. So it would be useful if I have missed a side event on the aquifer management, how I can have some ideas on what happened in that event if I missed it. It seems to me that there is no way of bringing us back together. We go in different directions, in different themes because of our interests, but we don't have a way of coming together as a group. So I think for me, in terms of design, that might be important. In terms of the themes, you mentioned how you would like to strengthen cooperation across generations by creating a youth day, which is, I think, a very interesting thing. How are you doing it for gender balance? My question to you is, what is your ideas about how to do it with gender as well? And in relation to communication, you said you have 120 journalists. I know you have, maybe you can give us a little bit more details on that. You have a specific program for the media. You have some specific activities for the media. So the media is not only reporting on what everybody else is doing, but you have some specific program, or don't you? If you don't, maybe we should have it. Okay.
Okay. I don't know how much time I have. I've seen some other hands, but... So very quickly, and then I've seen on your design. Josefina, this is one of the major problems we have. The reason why we have to go out and ask people to merge is that we don't want to grow bigger, because it's already too big in a sense that you can't go to everything. So we are consistent. We want to grow larger. We want more people, but we won't grow larger at this point, because we think it's important to have it in some kind of comprehensive format. We do have this rapporteur thing to the end, and we have the overarching conclusions, and you can find the presentations on the web, etc., etc. But I understand this is not exactly what you're asking for. We have been discussing having some kind of panels in the morning, for instance. But that would then take away time from seminars and side events, meaning that we would offer less space for others. So we're struggling with this, actually. And if anyone could have a smart idea in how to satisfy it, because you're right. I mean, this is what we hear all the time. And of course, it's good that people find many things interesting, but it's a constant conflict. On the themes, sorry, I missed it. The gender, yeah. Well, we won't have a gender day this year, but I'm struggling with that too. We have to take it step by step. So I'll come back to that. And on the journalists, no, we don't have a specific, I mean, we have a media kit. We do have a specific report that we present beforehand with the themes and some key messages and so forth. We have also been working quite a lot with social media, and it's growing very fast now, quickly. But we don't have a specific program so far. Next question, please.
Sí. Pilar Esquinas de...
Oh, I need a translation. Yes, please.
Simplemente para aprovechar esta oportunidad. En este momento se están celebrando, bueno, soy Pilar Esquinas,
Pilar Esquinas, for the people who haven't met me yet, and I come from very different social movements. At this moment, we are holding in many capitals of Spain and also in many other countries of Europe meetings oriented. Can you listen to us, really? Or, they are organized for this World Water Day, which is going to coincide to be at the same time as this World Water Week. The same as our colleague said, we are talking about our world where everything has been moving very, very fast, and we are talking at the moment everything is really moving very quickly, and this is a reality in the social movements, a reality that perhaps we cannot reach everyone because we do not have economic resources available, but this is giving us the power. So Facebook, Twitter, and many other mass media, which are not the conventional ones, are creating really a critical mass with their opinions. And this in the week of the water. Karin, can you listen to us now? Karin, can you listen to us now? Can you hear me? Okay, okay. Can you receive our translation, Karin? I think that in the week of the water, the social movements are a reality, which are there on the street. All of us are a social movement, disregarding independently on this T-shirt we have got, or the religion, or the culture we've got. And as a body, as an institution, I'm talking about this Water World Week. Can you listen to us in English? Can you listen to us in English now? Can you listen to us in English? Karin, try. Karin, can you listen to me now? I'm the poor translator. Can you listen to me now? Lovely, lovely. Okay, thank you, Karin. I think that my contribution to this moment of what it could be interesting to be included in this Water Week is the fact that the social movements, as it is happening in Thessaloniki with this movement 136, as it is happening with the Basatis in Germany, as it is happening in Bogota in Colombia, when they are thinking of the remunicipalization of the water service, water supplies, and as many other movements in Avila, in Talavera. What is happening really? What is happening is that big and small villages and towns are getting together in order to stop a privatizing movement and in order to have a transparency in this management. I'm not going to talk about whether the public resources are well managed, and this could be a contribution we could do to this Water Week and the social movements we are working. I am not any marginal person. I am not any person who has never worked. I have been working for 20 years. I have been contributing with my taxes for the last 20 years. So the movement of these people who are really angry about everything, the social movement should be included. And there are many ways to channel this participation and to evaluate and to assess this piece of information.
Thank you so much, and I agree with you that this moment is important. I hope you will send in submissions on a side event or a seminar, and we are really eager to not only have, developing country participants, but also these kind of communities being represented. So. Josefina tells me that we have to close, and I understand why. So I'll be here tonight at the reception, so I'll be happy to take any questions you have, and you can also send in afterwards. You have to negotiate with Josefina. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Thanks.